Zulu Impi Warriors, discipline and power, the Bullhorn Army. The year is 1879. The place is the sun-scorched grasslands of southern Africa near a low, rocky hill called Isandlwana. A British column of over 1,800 soldiers, armed with modern rifles, artillery rockets, and the finest military training in the world, has pitched camp. They are confident they are the mightiest empire on earth. They have conquered India, Australia, and half of Africa. They call the local Zulu kingdom a primitive annoyance, a few thousand savages with spears and cowhide shields. What could they possibly do against the Maxim gun? The British general, Lord Chelmsford, is so confident that he splits his forces, leaving a third of his men behind to guard the camp. He marches off to find the Zulu army and crush it, but the Zulu army has already found him. 30,000 warriors, the largest Zulu force ever assembled, have been lying in a dead ground behind a hill for 2 days, silent as stones. They have not eaten. They have not slept. They have not moved. They are waiting for the signal. When it comes, they will not march. They will not run. They will flow across the veld like a living tide. They will form a shape that will become legendary. The horns of the bull, the chest of the bull, the loins of the bull. Within 3 hours, the British camp will be a graveyard. Over 1,300 British soldiers will lie dead, the worst defeat inflicted on the British Empire by a native army in the entire colonial era. And the men who achieve this impossible victory are not professional soldiers. They are farmers, herders, and teenagers. They carry short stabbing spears called iklwa, named for the sound it makes when it is pulled from a body. They wear no boots, no helmets, no body armor. What they have is something far more dangerous than any technology. They have discipline. They have unity. And they have the genius of a king who turned a scattered collection of tribes into the most feared fighting force in African history. This is the story of the Zulu Impi, the Bullhorn Army. Warriors who proved that raw courage, when combined with perfect tactics, can make even an empire bleed. To understand the Zulu warrior, you must first understand the man who forged them. His name is Shaka Zulu. He was born around 1787, an illegitimate son of a minor Zulu chief. As a child, he was bullied and exiled. He grew up angry, watching his people suffer from tribal raids. But Shaka had a mind that saw warfare differently. In the early 19th century, African warfare was relatively gentle. 2 armies would stand at a distance, throw spears, shout insults, and go home with few casualties. Shaka looked at this and saw weakness. He introduced a new weapon, a short-handled, broad-bladed spear, designed for close-quarters stabbing, not long-range throwing. He forced his warriors to discard their sandals and run barefoot over thorny ground to build toughness. He banned marriage for young soldiers so they would have no distraction. He created age-based regiments called ibutho, young men who grew up together, trained together, ate together, and would die together. And then he gave them a new battle formation, the bullhorn. The chest, a dense mass of elite warriors, would engage the enemy head-on, pinning them in place. The horns, 2 flanking columns of younger, faster warriors, would sprint around the sides to encircle the enemy from behind. And the loins, a reserve force sitting with their backs to the battle, facing away, would not move until the enemy tried to flee. Then they would rise and deliver the final crushing blow. It was a simple formation, but simplicity, when executed with absolute discipline, is unstoppable. By the time Shaka died in 1828, he had forged a Zulu nation of over 250,000 people, with an army of 40,000 warriors who would die on command without hesitation. The bullhorn had become the most feared tactical formation in sub-Saharan Africa. Now let us step inside the mind of a Zulu warrior. His name is not important. He is perhaps 18 years old. He has never seen a white man. He has never heard a cannon. What he knows is his regiment. He joined at 14 as a raw recruit, carrying supplies and cooking food. For 4 years, he has trained every day. He has run miles over rough terrain, carrying heavy shields. He has learned to charge in complete silence. No war cries, no drum beats, nothing but the soft pad of 10,000 bare feet on dry grass. He has been beaten for showing fear. He has been praised for showing no emotion when a friend died in training. He carries 3 weapons: the iklwa stabbing spear, a throwing spear called an Isandlwana, and a knobkiri, a heavy wooden club with a round head. His shield is made of cowhide, stiffened by a central wooden spine. The color of his shield tells you his regiment. White shields with dark spots, the veteran Ibutho. Dark shields with white spots, the young warriors. His headdress is feathers. His armlets are cow tails. He wears no shirt, no shoes. He believes that the king, the current king, Chelmsford, is the father of the nation. He believes that to die for the king is the highest honor. He believes that a coward will be killed by his own comrades. He is not afraid, because fear has been trained out of him. He is a component of a living machine, the bullhorn. And when the horn moves, he moves with it, not because he wants to, but because his brothers on either side are moving, and he will not let them down. That is Zulu discipline. Not obedience to an officer, loyalty to the man next to you. The Battle of Isandlwana on January 22nd, 1879, is the perfect expression of the bullhorn in action. The British are arrogant. Their camp is not fortified, no trenches, no palisades. They have not even formed a proper defensive perimeter. Their general is miles away chasing ghosts. The Zulu army, under the command of Kamahole, has been watching the camp for 2 days. They see the British soldiers lounging, smoking pipes, playing cards. They see the wagons parked carelessly. They see the ammunition boxes scattered. The Zulu commanders disagree about when to attack. Some want to wait for darkness, but Maxim decides, attack at noon. Why? Because the British will not expect a midday assault. The sun is high, the shadows are short. The Zulu will be exposed. But Maxim understands something the British do not. The Zulu do not need cover. They need speed. At exactly 12 o'clock, the signal is given. The chest, about 12,000 warriors, rises from behind a hill and marches straight toward the British camp. They do not run at first. They walk, a slow, steady, terrifying advance. The British soldiers see them and scramble to form a firing line. They have Martini Henry rifles, powerful, accurate, fast reloading. They begin to fire. The front rank of Zulu warriors falls, but the second rank steps over them. The third rank steps over the second. The chest keeps coming. The British are shooting as fast as they can. The barrels of their rifles grow hot. Their ammunition is running out. And then they look to their left. The left horn 7,000 warriors is sprinting around the hill. They are not marching. They are running at full speed, barefoot, shields held low, iklwa gleaming. The British swing their fire to the left. Then they look to their right. The right horn, another 7,000, is already behind them. The encirclement is complete. The British are not fighting an enemy. They are fighting a net made of flesh and iron. The Zulu close the distance. Now the throwing spears fly. Now the iklwa stabs. Now the bullhorn crushes. Within 90 minutes, the fighting is over. The British camp is a slaughterhouse. Soldiers are killed as they try to mount their horses. Officers die with pistols in their hands. The regimental colours are captured. The ammunition boxes, which the British foolishly left screwed shut, are never opened. Of the 1,800 British and colonial troops at Isandlwana, only 55 survive. The Zulu lose about 1,000 dead and 2,000 wounded, but they have won. The world is stunned. The London newspapers cannot believe it. How could savages defeat the British Empire? They do not understand. The Zulu are not savages. They are soldiers. Soldiers with a plan, soldiers with discipline. Soldiers who have studied the bullhorn for 50 years. But Isandlwana is not the whole story, because later that same day, on January 22nd, 1879, another battle takes place. This one is at a small mission station called Rorke's Drift. A handful of British soldiers, just 150 men, are holding a tiny outpost. They have heard the distant thunder of Isandlwana. They know the Zulu are coming. They build barricades out of biscuit boxes and mealie bags. They wait. And at 4:30 in the afternoon, 4,000 Zulu warriors, part of the reserve that did not engage at Isandlwana, attack. This is not a bullhorn formation. There is no room for horns at Rorke's Drift. The Zulu simply charge, wave after wave. The British have rifles and ammunition. They fire volley after volley. The Zulu reach the barricades. They stab over the biscuit boxes. They try to set the hospital on fire. The fighting is hand to hand, savage, desperate. For 12 hours the Zulu attack. For 12 hours the British hold. By dawn the Zulu withdraw. They have lost over 350 dead. The British have lost 17. 11 Victoria Crosses, the highest British military honour, are awarded to the defenders of Rorke's Drift. This is the battle that movies like Zulu made famous. And it is glorious. But it is also misleading. Rorke's Drift was a heroic defence. But Isandlwana was the true expression of Zulu power. And the British never forgot it. They never forgot that 30,000 men with spears and shields could annihilate a modern army. They would not make that mistake again. After Isandlwana, the British Empire did what empires always do. They brought overwhelming force. Thousands of reinforcements arrived from England. They brought Gatling guns, the first machine guns, and artillery that could fire explosive shells. They marched into Zulu land again. The final battle was at Ulundi, the Zulu capital, on July 4th, 1879. The British formed a hollow square, a massive formation of soldiers facing outward on all four sides. Inside the square were the Gatling guns and the artillery. The Zulu king, Cetshwayo, ordered his warriors to attack the square. They tried the bullhorn, but the horns could not encircle the square. The chest charged head-on into the Gatling guns. The Zulu died in rows. Entire regiments were cut down before they came within stabbing distance. By noon, the Zulu army was shattered. The British burned Ulundi. King Cetshwayo was captured and exiled. The Zulu kingdom was dead, but the legend of the Impi was only beginning. What made the Zulu warrior so extraordinary? Let us count the elements. First, physical conditioning. Zulu Impi could run 50 miles in a day, not walking, running, over rough terrain carrying shields and spears, and then fight a battle. British soldiers, by comparison, marched 12 miles a day. The Zulu did not have supply wagons. They lived off the land, roasted corn, stolen cattle, and something called insumpa, a dried meat paste that could be carried for weeks. Second, tactical discipline. The bullhorn required perfect timing. The chest had to engage at exactly the right moment. The horns had to sweep around without being seen. The loins had to stay seated, facing away from the battle, trusting that their time would come. This is not mob violence. This is military choreography. Third, psychological warfare. Before a battle, Zulu warriors would perform the ingoma, a stamping, chanting dance that shook the ground. The British called it the terrible chorus. It was designed to intimidate, but it also served a practical purpose. It put the Zulu into a trance-like state, raising their heart rates and flooding their bodies with adrenaline. By the time they charged, they were not afraid. They were already in the zone. Fourth, and most important, the regimental system. A Zulu warrior did not fight for glory or money. He fought for his ibutho, the men he had grown up with since childhood. They ate from the same pot. They slept in the same kraal. They were beaten by the same drill sergeants. To run away was to shame your brothers. To die was to become a hero that your brothers would sing about forever. That bond, that unbreakable pre-industrial face-to-face loyalty is something modern armies struggle to replicate. You cannot buy it with a paycheck. You cannot download it with a video game. You can only build it through years of shared suffering. Shaka understood this, and he built an army that for a brief moment in history stood equal to any force on Earth. Let us talk about the weapons again, because they are misunderstood. The iklwa is not a throwing spear. The throwing spear, the Isandlwana, was used to disrupt enemy formations at a distance. But the iklwa was for stabbing. It had a short, broad blade, about 18 inches, attached to a wooden shaft about 3 feet long. The name iklwa is onomatopoeic. It mimics the sound of the blade being pulled out of a wound. Iklwa. Iklwa. That wet, sucking sound. The Zulu were trained to stab upward, under the ribs, into the heart or lungs. One thrust, then pull back, then step over the body and stab the next man. No wasted motion. No fancy swordplay, just efficient, repetitive killing. The shield was equally important. A Zulu war shield was made of cowhide, often stiffened with a central wooden rib. It was not just a defense, it was a tool for hooking an enemy's weapon, pushing him off balance, or blinding him with the rim. The left arm that held the shield was also the arm that controlled the iklwa. The Zulu trained for years to make their left hand as strong as their right, because in the chaos of battle you might have to stab with your shield hand if your spear was lost. The Zulu were not primitive. They were specialized. They had stripped away everything unnecessary, armor, boots, supply lines, and focused entirely on speed, aggression, and shock. Against a slower, heavier enemy, this worked. Against a hollow square with Gatling guns, it did not. But that does not make the Zulu less impressive. It only makes the British more desperate. After the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879, the Zulu kingdom was broken. The British divided Zulu land into 13 small chieftainships, each loyal to the crown. The Impi were disbanded, warriors returned to their villages and became farmers again. Some of them, years later, served as police auxiliaries for the British. It was a sad end, but the spirit of the Zulu warrior never truly died. In the 20th century, during the anti-apartheid struggle, Zulu leaders invoked the memory of Shaka and the Impi. The bullhorn became a symbol of black resistance. Nelson Mandela, who was a Xhosa, not a Zulu, still respected the Zulu military tradition. He understood that Shaka had created something unique, a national identity forged in fire. Before Shaka, the people of southeastern Africa were a patchwork of rival clans. After Shaka, they were Zulu, one nation, one army, one destiny. So what can we learn from the Zulu Impi today? First, that technology is not everything. The British had rifles, rockets and Gatling guns. They lost at Isandlwana because they were arrogant, poorly deployed and unprepared. The Zulu had spears and shields. They won because they had a plan, they executed it perfectly, and they were willing to die. Second, that discipline is not about uniforms and saluting. It is about trust. The Zulu trusted each other. They trusted the bullhorn. They trusted that the man on their left would not run. That trust allowed them to do impossible things, like walking into rifle fire without flinching. Third, that courage is contagious. When you see a 16-year-old boy running barefoot toward a line of soldiers with rifles, and he does not slow down, you have two choices. You can admire him, or you can join him. The Zulu did both, and for a few hours on a hot January afternoon, they made the British Empire tremble. Today, you can visit the battlefield of Isandlwana in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. The hill is still there. The grass still blows in the wind. The white cairns marking the graves of British soldiers still dot the landscape. But if you stand on the hill and look out across the veld, you can almost see them, the horns sweeping around the flank, the chest advancing with shields locked together, the loins sitting with their backs to the battle, patient as death. And you can hear them too, not the ingoma that is silent now, but the whisper of 30,000 bare feet on dry grass, the hiss of the iklwa leaving its sheath, the name of the king whispered like a prayer, Setshwayo, Setshwayo, Setshwayo. The bullhorn army is gone. The Zulu kingdom is a museum piece. But for one day in 1879, the greatest empire on earth learned a lesson it never forgot. Never underestimate a warrior who has nothing to lose and everything to prove. Spears can beat rifles, discipline can beat technology, and the bullhorn, when it closes, leaves no survivors. That is the story of the Zulu Impi, warriors of discipline, power, and the eternal fury of the horn. Hamba Kale, go well, warriors. Your legend marches on.